I'm live.
Welcome here, everyone, to the start of another NECC series and league and season. This time it is League of Legends, and I'm very excited to be here. My name is Orbital. With me is the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster. We might look the same, but obviously we are not. I just grabbed a shirt and decided to try and match him as much as possible. RMC, how you doing today? Are you ready for the opening match?
RMC. Oh,
Yes, and I'm very excited. Whenever we talk about teams that do promote up from Div 2, the number one thing on our minds is usually, hey, we need to go ahead and see how much they're going to grow in this split. A lot of teams that we have seen usually do stumble, at least in the opening games and the opening series. And I think when you talk to University of Waterloo, there were some discussions of saying, hey, yeah, we want to go ahead and learn a lot. We want to kind of get our bearings first, so this matchup will be quite interesting. University of Waterloo Warriors, I believe, are running Alien Abduction, Agro, Sin, Ziad, as well as Icy, and then Pieces on that roster for Northeastern. For themselves, a returning Div 1 squad might be looking to try and do more of the same. However, we have been told that they might have some roster adjustments as they work through the opening of this season. We got some returning names like Hiccup down there in the support, but Beasteel in that top side. We got Sadfall possibly hopping in here, which has a little story back there. We got CX as well as Jisung, and that the roster of Northeastern will be hoping to make a mark here, or at least a big one at the beginning of this season.
So fair enough. We were talking about potential roster changes to come through from Northeastern. One thing to note is that as a team, they do kind of role swap a little bit. So they aren't new together necessarily. They did play together last split in Division 1, I believe it was in Group B, with the same sort of starting 5 players tonight. Again, they do have a substitute with Sad Fowls DJ coming in for, I believe it was. Oh, I don't have the starter, unfortunately. Ziha? My apologies. Zuriha, pardon me. There we go. That's who it was. Who's being subbed for tonight. So for Northeastern, because of sort of the way their team is kind of running, there's a lot of people off-rolling. So they have the fun fact that they might actually be switching out different players for different roles, even within the same series. It kind of depends on how they're feeling, what's available, what they want to do, which does make their team a little bit fun for us to watch, not so fun to plan against. And for the Warriors tonight, that's what they're up against. They too have a bit of role swapping going on. I believe they've actually got 2 starting top laners that they might rotate between. One of whom is Angrod the fourth, and the other with one of the funniest names I've seen in League of Legends recently, Alien Abduction, all caps, #help. Those are the 2 top laners which we might see. Not sure who's starting tonight, and that's going to be an interesting one with all the potential changes that can come through.
Yeah, and the swaps are generally one of the things that I would like to take a look at, because especially at the beginning of the season, I will always say this is the time to test. This is the time to try and figure out exactly how you want to play. About mid-season is where you start kind of hammering in exactly how you want to play, but the University of Waterloo very specifically were saying we have more of a situation where we have rotating top laners. Depending on the situation, depending on how we want to play, we want to actively move these 2 players, and we've seen a lot of pro teams try this out, depending on the roles. I remember T1 tried it, with Faker, rotating in, swapping some players. So my question to you, RMC, is do you think this is a viable thing to look at, or is this more a early season start of things to figure out who will be the main top laner?
Well, from what their coach Scythe mentioned to me about them, he compared them to the likes of, Rest and Driver over on CFO, Whipple, Gakos on FlyQuest last year. So given the examples he's using, I mean, I do think it's viable, and a 6-man has worked in the past. I think CFO especially has made that really evident that they, depending on what they wanted, they needed sort of the tank player. Driver comes in. If they wanted more Jace carry, Rest would be the one coming in. So I can see it working. Now, between Alien Abduction and Angrod the Fourth, I don't know necessarily their playstyles, and that's going to be interesting whether or not they make it work. We've seen some colleges as well here within the NECC have sort of 6-7-man rosters, usually more because of availabilities, and not everybody can make it every single game. So we'll see how that ends up working out for Warriors Gold. But for now, cautiously optimistic.
All right, I like it. And being cautiously optimistic of a new style, or maybe not so new style, but one that we haven't always seen be the most prevalent when it comes to we actively want to use this. Who gets the game time? Who is actively starting? As you said, depending on the opening game here. We do have a BO3 ahead of us, and it is going to be full Fearless as well, so I'm excited to see what the players get to lay down. But Northeastern University, we really do need to talk about them. They're a squad that we have seen before. A lot of these players, you and I have actually cast all the way in years previous, but for them, when you talk about availability, it seems to be that same kind of situation in a wholly different state. A lot of these players do have very unique champ pools, uniquely to the fact that a lot of them seem to play more aggro bruiser champions from the top lane, and maybe not so transitioning to the roles that they may be playing today.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of them are either like solo laners, either top lane or mid lane potentially between their players that we've hiccuped their support. She's the only one who actually plays support, so she's kind of fine, but she might rotate out depending on what the team needs as well. And then, yeah, their solo laners are fine because everybody seems to do that. So they're kind of lacking the jungle AD carry department a little bit. And so their bot lane is where my eyes are drawn to, more because I'm familiar with these players. Hiccup, of course, having played in the NACL qualifiers and Ducky Getters, and she did phenomenally. Very, very mechanical player. But their AD carry is Jisung. And Jisung is a player that we've cast before Orbital for Northeastern, actually, as well as, in NACL qualifiers and PGCQ qualifiers in the past as well. But he was a top laner in those positions. And I remember, I think it was Camille specifically, a very mechanical player as well. And now he's switching to AD carry. And mechanics are all well and good. I feel like AD carries, marksmen, they need those hands. That's, how you kind of perform best. But top lane mechanics and AD carry mechanics are very, very different. So I'm kind of curious how that works out if Jisung actually even ends up playing in the marksman role. I believe that was the last role. Oh, that was the role he last played for Northeastern last split, but we've already been told things can swap around very quickly on this squad.
Yeah, and the fact that they can even swap during the match itself, and as you said, during availability, this provides some challenges, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. When you have this system of we want to kind of change out during the series, I mean, we've seen it in Pro Play. I think Pro Play obviously has a few more rules stipulated on that. I think the only one that I saw where there was a specific player swap to a different role was over in EU at one point, where there was I think there was like a stipulation in a contract of if I get to play against a certain team, I will get to play, I think it was top lane, against a certain player. And it was a very specific part of it, which was very entertaining. But when it comes down to deciding champions, how rough does it make it for the team deciding to draft? Because I feel like there's a lot more weirdness that can go through, and namely I want to see if that does affect, if we see a more bruiser-esque composition, more all in, and then all of a sudden they pivot to a much more team fight oriented, or maybe a range poke, siege style. I feel like those questions might be coming in here as we get this draft number 1, Northeastern on the blue side, and already banning out the Pike.
Okay, and I believe we're not going to sort of tier 1 rules where, there's first selection now, which is separate from siding. It is.
God.
Blue side still picks first,
that makes
first.
our minds boggled, by the way. Still trying to read that on a draft sometimes. It's really bad.
Yeah, so no, we're still simplified, even though it is fearless. We do see the Pike banned away from Pieces. It's kind of interesting as well, because if you look at Pieces' solo queue champion pool, he plays a lot of enchanters, things like Nami, Karma, Bard, and then his most played is Pike. So when you remove that Pike, you kind of put him back in that enchanter role a little bit. So I like the ban to kind of remove that. The Zoe ban against Ziad, though, is actually interesting because Ziad has a really big champion pool. Trying to ban him, I feel like, isn't that important. And his second most played after the Zoe is Ryze. And Ryze, I feel like, is a much more meta champion right now that I'd be kind of scared of. Yes, Zoe's a little bit weird and her pick potential is massive, but Ryze's sort of scaling and his ability to stand his ground, split push, do everything later on in the game is a lot tougher to generally deal with.
Yeah, I think the funny thing that you were mentioning before as well is Ziad very much told you in the green room, hey, I will get a Pensa, look out for me. And those are his direct words. You told me this, and we were like, we wanted to know where you could fit. That's going to be it. So very direct in there. But these are not even just a Zoe pick. This is hard targeted towards the mid laners, it feels like, themselves. On the flip side, for Waterloo Warriors, they targeted the likes of CX in there, banning out, or not CX, I believe it was Sadfall, with that Vladimir ban, and then the Yone plus the Aurora, like, these are very targeted, but it leaves them in a lot of the metas that we've seen in the 26.1 era, which is that Jace, Malphite available, Rumble available, all these high tiers, but not even matching that Jace. It's an interesting shift over the Nefiri to come out as first pick.
Yeah, and Jace did get nerfed a little bit last patch where they weakened his bonus damage to jungle mobs, so his clear wasn't quite as fast. And he did kind of fall out of meta a little bit. He is still really obnoxious in the jungle, and he can still solo lane as well. So for Northeastern, it is definitely a flex pick that could go into multiple roles. I wouldn't hard commit to that. And I think the Warriors, on the other hand, Waterloo Warriors, they want to stick with their own game plan for now. They don't want to get baited into this. So the Nefiri, obviously looking for something a bit more that can punish a little bit more for aggro sin potentially, and the Orianna, another sort of staple in meta play right now, where she doesn't get punished too much. She doesn't scale the same way as Rise necessarily, but the Shockwave certainly will do a lot of work. And speaking of scaling, Northeastern with the Syndra and Yunara, both definitely skilling picks to come through.
I like the fact that also for Northeastern, you're still also drafting a little bit further away composition. When you see that Orianna, you want to try and split up. And the Syndra and the Yunara do have decent range. The problem is if you're caught by the Mbessa that was just locked in here, you're in for a little bit of a fry. Now, there's a high chance we won't see the Mel coming out here. Mel, one of the most recently highly tweaked champions out there. But we do see the Renekton ban now in that top lane aspect, assuming that Jace is going inside of that jungle. Renekton ban out on the flip side for Northeastern. And ideas transferring. Hey, we do have ADC primed and ready to go. Let's go ahead and start banning out those instead.
And I think the Renekton takeaway as well is one of the rougher lanes that Abessa has to deal with. So when you take that out, she has a lot more comfortable laning matchups. Things like Rumble, for example, don't do terribly well into Abessa, generally speaking. I am a bit surprised, though, that they went with the Abessa R3 instead of trying to answer the Yunara, because you can see now Northeastern can kind of focus on that bot lane, ban it out a little bit. Kalista, not necessarily the best into Yunara, but can punish in lane. I'm expecting to see an Aphelios ban, because I feel like that is currently one of the harder counters into Yunara from laning phase going all the way up into later. But they've left it open, Orbital. They think Nautilus is a bigger issue. And when I'm looking at Pieces, again, I think of Pieces as more of an enchanter player than necessarily an engage champion. Perhaps you're thinking you need some sort of engage with that composition. But to be honest, I think Waterloo is fine with the Shockwave, the ball delivery system that an Mbessa or Nefiri can provide for you.
And not only that, backing it up with a little bit more shell shock factor. When you take a look at the three champions on the other side, you don't see tank, you don't scream HP. So you go for the Jhin, a little bit more easier crit, heavy damage, heavy execution value. And for Northeastern, they're the ones that pick up Hiccups. Lulu here, a champion that she has played to very high efficiency in the past.
Yeah, and just generally really solid. Yes. Malphite to come through as well. Malphite was the other sort of jungle that came up because of Jace. And now it's funny seeing both of them on Northeastern's draft. So they got both the Jace and the Malphite. And they're still flexible, Orbital. It can still be Malphite in the jungle. It can still be Jace on the top side. So it's whatever they really prefer into the Mbessa. Part of me almost prefers the Malphite, I feel like, because he's just going to build armor anyways into her. So we can kind of ignore what she wants to do. Karma being the answer into the Lulu, of course, an enchanter. More of a mage enchanter where she just pokes out that bot lane, specifically with Jhin Karma as well. It is a very oppressive bully bot lane, and while Yunara Lulu skills up fantastically for team fights, the laning can be a little bit rough. I suspect they're going to need a little bit more jungle support, and if you're going to need jungle support, Malphite pre-6 is not the support you're looking for. He's rock solid. His ability to help and hold you up, not so much before he gets the ultimate.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time before you can actually amp yourself up, so maybe you are looking for a Jace for a little bit more poke in there. Either way, though, it is going to be an eyes on the bottom side. Hyperscaler for that Yunara and that Lulu kind of amping it up to a higher degree. It does draw my eyes on there. You pointed them out earlier, and I do want to keep eyes, especially depending on who Northeastern have actually placed down there. I am very curious to see if this does work for this team, especially for a team that might be looking to kind of find their center, find their proper footing in this series. Compositionally wise, though, it's going to be entertaining no matter what. It looks like we do have Malphite in the top lane, though. It is going to be the Jace in the jungle. Thank you to our production side, as Chippy and Vera Adam are giving us the best views in there. And it will be matched, though. We haven't talked too much about it. Nefiri now has to deal with a very heavy rock on the top side and a poke-heavy Jace come this early game. Do you see that as viable, as that was an R1 pickup?
I am a little bit concerned with how physical heavy the Warriors are into that Malphite that came through very, very late for Northeastern. So great Malphite pickup. You can just kind of build armor and negate a lot of that. But besides that, I do think the draft from the Warriors is fairly cohesive. If they can shut the Malphite down in lane, if you get get some ganks rolling with Neferi and Mbessa early on, shut down the Malphite, then I don't think there's too much for them to worry about. As you mentioned, Northeastern, rather squishy aside from the Malphite. So if you can remove him from the equation, you're kind of good to go. And it really sets up Icy and Pieces in that ball lane, especially with the Jhin, to be able to melt through a lot of these squishies. Now, it is worth noting, we talked about how Ziad said, hey, I'm going to get a Penta this series. There was another player on his team who disagreed. And, well, not necessarily disagreed, but Icy, their AD carry, told him, don't steal my pentakill. So it's kind of interesting to me that it's the Orianna and the Jhin saying that. Because for my money, I'm looking at this Mbessa and thinking, if anything, hey, maybe it's Alien Abduction who actually, I'm assuming that's Alien Abduction the top side and not Aggro on the fourth. But I'm looking at the Mbessa potentially to actually pick up a Penta or heck, even maybe Agrison there.
Yeah, and we also have a Jace that is running. Our most dreaded enemy. RMC, our most dreaded enemy. It is the unfortunate streamer mode. I am so sad. We do have that.
So we still don't know if it's Alien Abduction.
We'll figure it out at some point. We do have Beasteel up on that top side, and for right now, we will consider them as Beasteel. For the moment, that is what we recognize until we are told any different. But lane assignments aside, we are taking a look, and champion-wise, we are seeing a very nice float. Top side for the junglers, everyone in that standard mix-up. Hiccup, though, dancing very far forward, and we've seen this heavily aggressive level 1 as of late. You and I have discussed it before, trying to get as much value of these HP bars as possible, but Hiccup taking the worst of that trade by far.
Yeah, and with the level 1s, if you can dodge the Mantra Q coming through from Pieces, you can actually win that out. But then it gets kind of dicey, and now Hiccup's just getting run down.
I love that heal coming out here, but that's going to be an empowered Mantra, as you were mentioning. But flash forward, gets the first blood. This is the first blood and kill on either ADC. However, the auto attacks are flying for this Yunara as Jisung might have it. Barrier's up, the final shot. Barrier parry!
He was a reload!
The parry from Jisung brings it to 2 for the Yunara.
And a clutch call from Northeastern's bot lane, Hiccup and Jisung. And heck, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Hiccup for this because the level 1 was so dicey. Hiccup, she was willing to absorb all that poke, saying, okay, I know at level 2, we can turn the tides. And for a second, I was a little bit worried that Jisung was not following up with Hiccup, but ultimately recognized that, okay, this call is right. We're a little bit healthier. Pieces took too much damage. We will win this outright. And so close for Icy. If he could reload a bit faster, maybe that changes things. But that's the Jhin mechanic, right? You get 4 shots, 4-shot hits hard, but then you got to take time to reload your chamber after that. Whereas Yunara, she just runs you down. The more auto she gets, the more she's able to proc her passive ability and just win out those trades.
Not just that, the weight on the barrier almost to bait out that extra auto attack was massive. Right there, auto attack trades though underneath this mid lane tower. Ziad wanted to. Ziad absolutely wanted to, but saw the chugging of the pot in Sadfall's hands. The fact that Sadfall is actually going back in the mid lane is wild. That's all I'm going to say right now. Chase, though, turning in for this jungle route. Agrison stepping in to get a little extra damage down. Bot lane from the side of Waterloo will be in the territory. Value will be a bump on the back end as Agrison is able to grab one.
Ooh.
What a tether, though, on the other side, as that leads to a fall and more. Northeastern not liking what's going down right now. Another lanyard, a tether works out for Icy, and that'll lead to another punch. Poor Hiccup is in no man's land. You're going to get run down by the dog. Aggro's Sin on the Fury. We'll grab that kill.
And just like that, the University of Waterloo able to answer back and turn the tides. And I think that's one thing that they did kind of mention that they were focused on, working as a team, kind of trying to make everything connect. And that's the sort of play that you can make, right? It starts off with them catching Jace out in the river, and it's the Deadly Flourish, the follow-up from Icy, that catches that all the way from downtown while Ziad and Agrison were pressuring in. Sadfa here in this mid lane, man. Like you said, he's playing with fire, but he's kind of doing it okay. The only problem is because he has to play a bit more passively, making sure that he doesn't get caught out and punished for it, he is dropping CS. He's about a wave behind Ziad right now.
I was about to mention that as well, and not only that, considering Ziad was able to pick up double buffs in there because of that extra kill, you're now being granted so much wave control. A lot of people kind of underestimate the red buff in mid lane, or in any lane specifically. That HP difference isn't going away anytime soon, so Sadfall is quite literally just like, let me get the CS and then let me recall. That's the best option I currently have. Jace in the back pocket, trying to clear out the wolves, maybe give a little bit of help in there. If you can, last little bop on the back end, sacrifice a bit more. So it is actually a wave and a half that Ziad will have up, pushing out yet another. Ziad's taken like 4 tower shots, by the way, and is still healthy thanks to that red buff.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Will be a recall. No, he doesn't care. And so Sadfall gets a recall and then the TP back.
And unfortunately for Sadfall as well, he could only hold there till level 6. Once 6 comes through from Ziad, it just gets too risky. You can't even call your jungler for help because it is a Jace jungle, who, sure, he's good at just kind of landing that poke, but when the health difference is so much, it's not quite enough. And you can see the gold differences coming through. We're focused on the mid lane a lot, but it's actually the jungle where we're seeing the biggest difference, because Agrosin managed to pick up that kill early on, and Jace got set behind. Bot side too. Surprisingly, you know, I thought IC might be able to make up a little bit of gold with that gank, but there's still an advantage for Jisung. Problem is, it's Yunara. And yeah, she can run you down, but her build path early on doesn't feel the greatest, so it's a little bit hard for her to snowball that early lead.
Which is why Jace is actually down here to try and amp up on top of it. They are looking to try and get some sort of extra value, but it's being read by Agrosin, who is in the range as well. Good tether onto Hiccup, but Icy starting to get auto attack instead. Level 4 though is Hiccup, and you can't really stay here. Big slam down, what extra damage? Jace blows up the HP bars. They're gonna turn on to pieces as much as possible. One last auto attack will take it. And Jisung saying top lane, bot lane, it don't matter. It's all my lane.
Okay. And right now, Jace just looking for a snipe as well. Agrosin running all the way back will be safe. But overall, we're praising University of Waterloo and how they're kind of playing out their macro solo kill from Ziad, pressuring onto Sadfa there. But this bot lane specifically from Northeastern is absolutely cracked. Jisung and Hiccup baiting that. They had vision. They knew Agrosin was actually in the alcove the entire time. And Hiccup gets so low again. I keep thinking she's about to die, but nope. She's fine every single time.
And I think that's just the confidence that comes to these players. We mentioned before that they might be role swap, but these are all experienced players that have played together in the previous season. It's not like they're fresh players that's never played together. They have experience. They know what they can push, and I'm glad that I'm sure they're communicating behind. Now it's going to be even more communication because you have to kind of back up Sadfall. I don't know if you want to because Ziad is now rotating that gold lead from the mid lane down to the bot, forcing Jace to flash and getting first prio on this dragon.
Fancy feed from Jace there. Any sort of damage would have resulted in that deadly flourish to follow up. He tried to hold the flash, but I think it's a good call that he did it when he could. And unfortunately for Northeastern, yes, Jace lives, but they are going to lose the first dragon of the game over to University of Waterloo. Are they going to look for a little bit on the back end of this?
No, I don't think so, Sadfall. I don't know what you're doing. You just walk in and you die. You try to get an extra kill back, but you might actually kill your ADC. Flash away from the deadly flourish, but guess what? Agrosin is here. Flash forward, barriers up, but it doesn't save you. And disaster striking for Northeastern as not only do they lose a dragon, but they lose their mid and ADC as well.
First off, Hiccup survives again, somehow. Secondly, let's count the cost, because first of all, this time, Icy actually has the fourth shot ready to go. No reload required, able to find Jisung, but they did call for the TP from Mbessa, and that's giving Beasteel free time on this top lane to get some plates, get some damage down, and to recover a little bit. He's been suppressed by the Mbessa for most of this game, and doing a fantastic job keeping up the CS, but he has been shoved in this entire time, so being able to shove out a little bit, reset the waves, is going to feel really good for him. With cameras now locked into Jace, grubs are up and available, but for all that Jace wants to do it again, it comes back to the fact that Jace, as a jungler, a lot of his strength was how fast he could clear early, and then kind of assisting his lanes with a little bit of poke. He needs his lanes to set up. But when you're behind as the Jace, it does feel kind of bad. You are still clearing faster than Neferi, but you're not really able to contest Neferi.
A little too rough in that scenario, so far, Agrosin feeling okay with that revelation. Record shows 3 straight grubs feels pretty dang good. Agrosin now level 6 can chase anyone to the depths of hell. We look back at the bottom lane, 4-1 right now for Jisung. A lot of CS in their pocket as well, but Jace sees an opportunity, looks for a hammer form on pieces, but underneath the tower, the whole difference. And I think these are actually going to turn. There's no real help. Hiccup does have level 6, can use it on that wild growth if they need to. Are going to turn it, but Jace actually goes back in, and now Ziad is around the corner. This is turning into a disaster for the side of Northeastern. You hop straight into the arms of the Fed, Orianna, and Ziad is on a rampage.
And this is where the fact that you're not a main role jungler kind of comes into play a little bit. Jace overextending, looking for that poke angle, looking for the dive. And on paper, it looks good, but not knowing where the enemy is does kind of hurt you. Sadfa now.
No.
he didn't flash. He almost got pieces. It was so close. One more item.
He almost did. But still, Waterloo Warriors stepping up here. A Div 2 squad trying to flex their muscles here in Div 1 and so far putting on a pretty dang good show.
Yeah, and for University of Waterloo, I think they've done their time in Div 2. They're coming up here not as sort of a surprise by any means. Like, they were planning. They felt like they deserved to be up here. And frankly, I think their off-season preparations, if you look at sort of their ranks right now, they've got 3 master level players. Like, they've been putting in the time to match up to Div 1. And hands-wise, it's certainly showing. It's really helping to negate the advantages that Jisung and Hiccup got early. There's still a CS advantage down there. But I suspect the gold gap has shrunk from that initial 3,000-4,000 gold that we saw the last time we saw gold.
Oh, 100%. And I would stand by that it's only going to continue to decrease in that mix, because when you look at the difference in the bot side, sure, it's pretty punishing. And then you look at the mid, and you're like, oh yeah, Ziad's 5-0-2, and Sadfall is sitting at 0-4 and some. It's like, okay, are you really that worried? Icy is sitting there and probably recognizing, I don't have to carry. I would love to, don't get me wrong, I'd love to carry. But Ziad is literally saying, I want my Penta, and so far they're living up to that name. And I just realized Mbessa is also on the top side. We don't know who the player name is, so the streamer mode is on because they're just doing rude things over here. 0 and 0 and 0. But still able to dance on B-Steel, who is trying to run over to this Jace. Is actually able to get there. Good turnaround. Jace flashes to flash and follow. No extra shield is available, but you're able to snap back underneath. Can you dodge the empowered shock blast? And Bessa wants to stay.
B-Steel overstayed.
Jace makes it hard. Look at the rest. You are 100% correct. B-Steel getting dove underneath the tower. And that's the negation that you love to see. Hiccup on the bot side. Someone got a kill. We're going to turn it over there. Top side we just watched as Mbessa gets a kill onto Jace. I don't know what happened. Jisung takes the 2-piece combo out of that fast food restaurant. And it's an easy pickup on the bot side. But top side was a whole mix-up as well.
Yeah, and honestly, huge win for Northeastern. With how everything kind of played out, the fact that B-Steel ran out of mana, and that's why he was kind of getting herded around by the Mbessa, but Jace able to cover. Now, B-Steel, did he overstay? Yes. Did he get punished for it?
Yep.
No. And that's fine. He had to burn the flash, but he survived, and that kind of buys time, because it's now a 1-for-2 trade where Jisung and Hiccup on the bot side were able to find a 2-for-0. The moment they knew AgroSyn wasn't there, the moment they knew Ziad wasn't there, they were more than happy to just switch that switch on, get in there, start punishing. Now with the Kraken Slayer, with the boots, Lunara's early build isn't great, but that's enough for her to be a huge threat.
Yeah. Of course, Lunara might be a threat. Hiccup not so much, especially with Dragon up right now, using that early death, or the early recall on Mbessa to just rotate down to the bot side, gather coverage, get 2 dragons for your own. I like this play. University of Waterloo has so far been not only very, I want to say very conscious of the map state so far. They've gotten the kills and all, but they've gotten 2 dragons, they've gotten the 3 grubs, and now can look at an Infernal Soul.
Yeah, overall, I think they're playing the map just a lot better, knowing how to leverage their strengths. And their strengths right now are Ziad, AgroSyn, and Mbessa, sort of the top half of the map for them. And they're knowing how to rotate it down to this bot side. They're saying, I see pieces, just play safe. If you don't feed, we're kind of okay. For Northeastern, though, they're in, I feel like, a much tougher position. On one hand, they want to continue isolating the bot lane because Jisung and Hiccup are doing such a fantastic job in this 2v2 situation. But on the other hand, the rest of the map is kind of falling apart for them. And just having Jisung be big might not be enough for them to carry this game. We talked about how important B-Steel is going to be for this team. If you don't have a front line, if Jisung's kind of exposed, well, we saw how quickly they could rip through Hiccup there. They can do the exact same thing to Jisung later on in team fights.
Especially since AgroSyn is sitting at a 3-0-4, the one champion that a lot of ADCs and a lot of squishies in general hate to see fed. 3-0-4 with the Axiom mark already completed means you're going to be cycling through these opponents that are squishy, that took some damage into a rough state, as looks like we might have a little bit of a situation. I think that little hiccup was the fact that AgroSyn was able to reconnect, and it's good. No big worries. We had the time delay up. That's going to be an ult underneath the tower, though, as it's a very aggressive chase onto Ziad, but a good flash out in AgroSyn forward means that Northeastern do not follow up on that unstoppable force.
Yeah, and really unfortunate. You could see the idea there. We talked about how CC would set up for Jace to get in there. Well, that's the CC, but they're too far behind, and now you burnt the flash off Ziad. There needs to be a regank. The unstoppable force timer is a lot shorter. And I was also worth noting that jungle Malphite builds the Zeke's convergence for out reduction. Be still on the top side when it's Sunfire, it's not going to be quite as fast. We unfortunately look like we have a bit of a pause. Perhaps this was from when Agrison disconnected a little bit, but
Starting to become much more recognizable.
yeah. And for University of Waterloo, okay, we are back to 15-14. I don't actually recall. But okay, here's the thing. Agrison is not looking to gank bot lane right now, so I don't know what happened to the gank. It was successful, but it failed. I wasn't tracking death timers, but for the Warriors, they do need to actually gank into this bot lane a little bit more. They are trying to shut down Jisung. They've done a fantastic job elsewhere, and you know what? Ziad's going to continue bullying out Sadfa. And Bessa, who we have confirmed is alien abduction, will continue to do alien experiments on Beasteel up there. So you just need to shut down this Yunara, and then you're going to be good to go for the rest of the game.
I do wonder if instead of trying to dive the bot side, you're actually looking to play around some of these global objectives where you have multiple members, where you can actually bring in Ziad, who has a majority share chunk of that gold. This is not the safe lane style Orianna that we sometimes see with a lot of the cooldown reduction or the ability haste in there. This is blow up an opponent and just shut them out as quickly as possible. Love the Luden's Echo in there. Same on the other side though. Satball actually going for the same type of build. Luden's Echo into just power, where I think normally we see a lot more ability haste on a Syndra, instead trying to stack as quickly as possible on the shards, get that scatter the weak down as much as possible.
When you're behind, you always just want to build straight damage because you're trying to get back into the game. And we already saw from the gank earlier, where I think it was Pieces who ganked up in the mid lane. Sadfa almost has enough damage to just be able to kill the squishies. So I like the build for just straight AP for now. Have some sort of relevance. Press R if you can kill somebody. Your job is done, even if you go down. Especially when we're seeing Agrison be very, very vulnerable right now to straight damage. Even on that sort of cover, the counter gank onto the mid lane when they forced the flash out of Ziad, Agrison took a lot of early damage.
Oh, well, meeting at the mines right now, as Agrison is about 50% of their HP right there. Jace, tough times ahead though, but still recognizing that I can do some damage. In a straight 1v1 with that first strike, they will decimate an opponent.
A good use of the Yomu's Ghostblade from Jace as well to get that extra bit of movement speed, dodged out a lot of the skill shots. Now this is scary. They don't know Mbessa is here.
Oh,
public execution.
And it does catch so easily into the CC chain. Perfect teamwork yields a result. Beasteel is in a weird spot.
Okay.
It's going to be a very nice triple knockup, but will it be enough? Icy goes down. Ziad, though, running interference and forces Jace away. Beasteel is able to walk away as well. And what a surprise with all the action and coordination. It is a 1-for-1. However, much larger kill over on the ADC side because Jisung went down.
Yeah, I think the Warriors are going to be okay with how that worked out. Not necessarily super happy considering it as a team. They were feeling stronger, the top side of the map being so good to them. But if you look at the total team goal, it's actually pretty even. Beasteel right back here doesn't have the ult up and available. So this is a little bit risky. A lot of low health bars here.
Yeah, and you can see Agrison ready to go on the blast cone. This can be dangerous. Down to about 2k.
There we go.
They're going to blast over. It is smited away, but that will be a very nice scat of the week to disengage.
Huge.
Sadfa, beautiful work there to secure the dragon for the team.
Yeah, and massive for Northeastern. Generally speaking, they shouldn't have had a shot at that dragon, but
yeah,
the Warriors wanted to kind of go fishing a little bit. They wanted more than just the dragon. They wanted the kills on the back end of that, so they were okay to give that over if they could win the fight. But like you said, a great scatter in order to stop that coming through. And now, University of Waterloo, they're going to pick up sort of the secondary prize that they had already been setting up in the solo lanes. They're going to find both turrets, both mid and top, to get that infusion of gold. But speaking of gold overall, look at the top of your screen there. Because for all that Waterloo was winning on the top side, for all that they got the first two turrets of the game, they are only 700 gold up. And that is very, very minor. If we're looking at where that gold is, well, that bot lane gold, which we thought was shrinking, kind of blew right back open to 2v2. That's 1,000+ gold advantage for Northeastern there. Up again. 1,006 now with that find onto Icy.
That's how you know a kill actually came through, is when you watch the gold uptick right there.
Yep.
I mean, Jisung putting on a clinic right now. The Fiend Bolts are so dastardly in ensuring the squishies also go down. You basically turn into an ADC assassin. It is brutal to watch right there. 2 items deep, able to make magic happen, and they're going to continue to do so pretty much 2/3 of the way over to the IE as well. Jisung is on another level right now.
And you can see that Agrison and Alien Abduction are both looking to see if they can shut down Jisung. Theoretically, the Warriors composition has multiple answers into sort of this single carry threat, where Agrosin on the Neferi, that's an assassin-style champion that should find and eliminate squishies in the backline. Ziad in the last fight actually zoned out the entire backline, so B still had to 1v3 as well for a little bit. So the threat of that shockwave, if it lands, would pretty much guarantee a kill into Jisung. Speaking of guarantee a kill, that was an assassination of B-Steel. Ziad just vanished.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Sadfa walking into the entirety of Waterloo down at Dragon earlier. It's just like, la-di-da-di-da. Oh yeah, they all do damage. I am so sorry. With that death as well, Ziad down. Ziad was a majority share chunk of the damage bulk for Waterloo Warriors. Because of that, it's pretty much a free Baron. Now I say free because there is some damages on the back end. Redemption's going to come in and slow them all down, and they know that there is there's no unstoppable force, so you can throw out that curtain call. It is enough damage to actually draw them off, though. Even though it's a 5v4, they don't want to take that chance.
But I'll say the attempt was mostly free for Northeastern. But yeah, they were trying to take it right on the rip, right? Baron had literally just spawned. We were sub 21 minutes at that point. It had been up for less than a minute. And they tried to go for it. And normally, if this was later in the game, they had a bit more damage. Definitely doable. This early in the game, they did beef up Barons that would take longer, specifically to allow for teams to come back. So a bold choice by Northeastern didn't work out. It doesn't cost them too much, though. They're not even going to lose much map pressure for it. And for University of Waterloo, you could tell they knew as well that, hey, they're doing it, but we can let them sit on it a little bit, push out the wave first, and then we walk in. It is harder to take now.
I'm giving credit, you know, Northeastern, they stumbled a little bit earlier. We had a lot of question marks around there. At one point, it was 12 to 6 kills. And we're seeing kind of their hands check come into play. The squad that we know individually are very strong players. They are stepping up to the task, which I really appreciate here. We want to see them succeed here. A squad that we know has played in Div 1 for a while. I want to see even more of it as we head further and further into this mid-game. Look at this late game where the hands better come in even harder because we haven't seen a full team fight from either squad just yet.
Yeah, and I think it is worth starting to talk a little bit about the late game because of how balanced this game is right now. We talked a little bit about the Warriors and their composition. They've got a lot of burst damage to come through. They've got the Assassin Neferi. They've got Ziad on the Orianna building pretty much straight damage at this point. So it's make or break with that shockwave. And Icy was supposed to do well early on. Unfortunately, Beasteel at this point is starting to get a little bit tanky, and yes, he went into the Kanik Rookern a little bit, which is more magic resistance, magic shielding, but he will be building straight armor from here, so it only gets harder for Icy. University of Waterloo as a whole is going to start feeling like things are falling off a little bit. They still have ways. If they can dive that backline, if they can take out Jisung, then maybe they can still carry out the rest of the fight. For Northeastern, though, they've got decent poke between the Jace and the Syndra as well. Scatter the Weak not only used as a disengage, but to potentially get a stun off and a very long range stun to boot. They've also got pretty decent team fighting as long as they can space for Jisung. And they have a tank, which is something that the Warriors don't have, which buys them a lot more space and time in these 5v5 confrontations.
Or even in the non-confrontations, easy dragon take. By the side of Northeastern, they say, hey, it's Infernal, we might as well play for all four. We're even up on the dragon stance, which we mentioned before. Waterloo Warriors, they were looking pretty sharp with their early aggression there. Shockwave in the mid lane used to try and clear the wave, but it barely does anything, doesn't catch anyone out. Massive gold swing, now leverage into the pocket for Northeastern as they're the ones sitting with about a 900 gold lead. Feels great for them as again, it's going to come down to those hands at the end of the day. More the map spacing out, though, as I believe that is all outer towers down.
Yeah, that was an inner turret taken for the Warriors, traded in for a dragon and an outer mid lane turret to really open up the map, as you called it. There's one outer still standing in the bot lane for Northeastern, but really the side lanes right now, that's kind of standing gold, and they're going to send an abduction to pressure onto that turret and potentially take that out. So a lot of gold kind of go into Alien Abduction's way just from all the plating, which is now permanent throughout the game. The value does drop as the game goes on, but there is sort of a floor value, and this Ambessa is going to get fed. Alien Abduction, though, 1-0-1. This is the problem. We talked a little bit about how Northeastern, they have more options, and we saw that on the siege in the mid lane. Without a tank, Waterloo is struggling to defend these turrets. So they need to start playing a bit more aggressively, and if you're putting that much gold into Alien Abduction, he needs to be at the fights a little bit sooner. He needs to be there to actually pressure. This Baron is being done in vision. They know it's been started.
Will there be any response, though? Posturing with only 3. That's Ziad on the top side. Pieces needs to get a ward in there. It's going to come down. I don't know if it's going to be some delay. No, it's a freebie. You said it was on vision, but it feels like Waterloo thought they had more time. There was no time available, and now you're on the chase. This is going to be a huge look at a pinch. Icy tagged on the back end. That's the call to go. Look at the auto attack.
Icy's out.
But Icy still lives at the very end. Redemption coming in to keep them all alive, though. And Northeastern slammed the go buttons. Massive power attack brings a close. The Jisung actually goes down. But the curtain call barely does any damage. B-Steel tanks it all up. But the level of aggression that Northeastern laid down, the fact that they only lost Jisung is wild. Look at Agrosin and Icy's HP bars.
Yeah, and we've been giving huge props to Jisung, and Icy's kind of just been left in the dirt a lot by the 2v2. But in that fight, Icy baits them in, incredibly extended, and he didn't even blow Flash Orbital. That was what shocked me. I thought he must have burnt Flash, but no, he still has that available for a potential re-engage. The problem for Waterloo, though, is you saw what happened after the fight. On that disengage, when they were looking for a little bit more, they couldn't find it. And I'm a little bit concerned with the tankiness that B-Steel has. He's able to zone them out. And there was always the risk of Northeastern just kind of snap re-engaging onto them, which is why, ultimately, despite surviving the engage, despite finding Jisung, it is Waterloo who has to recall on their side of the map, and they're not quite able to regain control from that quote-unquote win or even trade between the two teams.
It is a very tough spot to be in. At the same time, good identification from the Warriors, still recognizing that Jisung is the main target here. Snipes them out as quickly as possible. A little bit of a tab out. Agrosin says, wait! And in that same time frame, Pieces falls to pieces. They lose their life inside the jungle, opening up space for Northeastern to power through the mid lane turret.
Yeah, it might just come down to the ease of execution. The ranges that Northeastern can work at. University of Waterloo need to pull the trigger. Agrosin is in a flank position, but where's Alien Abduction? Oh my goodness. Sad almost died to that. That's shocking.
I mean, it's not super shocking at the same time. There's a TP on the back end, and you're calling it out. In comes the curtain call. You saw the run away by Sadfun. Maybe you can get some more back this way. Perfect execution ain't gonna work, but Ziad takes the side on B-Steel. However, look at the auto attacks. Again, Jisung saying, dude, I am 3.5 items deep. I will shred your front line all day long. Low HP bars on the side of Waterloo, and this mid tower, this inhibitor tower, will still be punished.
What frontline orbital? They're all squishy. Even Alien Abduction is a little bit squishy. The moment he missed that public execution, it got rough. And unfortunately, Northeastern, they feel it. The blood is in their noses. They scent the scent of victory, and they're just going to push in Ambessa on the flank. But a good scatter of the week, is it enough?
Nope, it's not. Jace will go down to the Ambessa inside enemy territory. Jisung goes down after trying to lay waste to Icy. Quick dash in as Agrosin eats that scout of the week, but it will be a death for death as a blossoming of feathers will be picked up by Ziad. Very nicely done, but of course the damage has been done. Northeastern break the base, don't get the inhibitor, and Waterloo, well, all they get are some kills.
I'm still trying to work out whether or not that was worth it for the Warriors overall. They've been suppressed for so long this game, and like you said, they kind of had to give up the inhibitor turret to draw Northeastern in enough that they could actually look for the flank because it's been so difficult. You know what? They're going to get Soul Point off of this. I'll withhold judgment. If they can get Soul, I think for Waterloo, this was kind of worth it. But if not, it just shows how difficult it is for the composition right now to play in the face of Northeastern. There's a lot of mechanical things that have to go right for them. They have to land those flank engages from Agrosin, from Alien Abduction. If they don't have it, they can't really brute force their way in from the front. And I'd love to see that curtain call being used to engage more, because Icy did that fight, and I do think it's what kind of gave them that opportunity.
Oh, very nice shockwave. That felt a little bit angry, I'm not gonna lie. That felt a little like revengey and angry to do that to poor Hiccup. He was just trying to be a good support.
A slightly overextended support. They're continuing the fight right now.
Oh, what a sight. They actually found Sandfall. However, guess who's still very much alive in? Well, Jisung ready to power out the damage with his bubble, but a massive command dissonance rips her HP to shreds. Redemption will keep him alive for a little bit longer, but Icy is now unleashed. Remember, there's no unstoppable force. Mini Beastiel is going to get run down. Pieces speeding everyone up. Another shot to the backside. I respect it at the end of the day. A Jhin trying to break through a Malphite with no completed Lord Doms. Wild take on that one.
The last whisper seems to be enough already. I mean, Icy was hurting. Those were tickles coming through from Icy. Well played from them. But yeah, the way that fight started, Orbital, that to me was a bit of the shocker. Hiccup got caught, and Northeastern, and they've done this a couple of times this game already, felt like, okay, we can still pressure up 4v5. We still have the fight. And same thing with Agrosin. He was actually able to dive backline this time and not instantly get melted.
It's a nice one, but it's a small step forward because you know what's coming up next. Baron, once more on the table. Now, this last Baron was interesting to watch for. It was hardly contested. It was just kind of there for the funsies. And the rotation by Northeastern says we can do it once more. However, keep eyes. TP available for Mbessa. Alien Abduction will be looking to do it. No real wards on top of it, but you were able to get the scuttle before. Yeah. You get eyes a little bit further behind. It's getting chewed down.
And again, it's the same situation. They know it's being done. They need to call the TP. And this time, dude, Alien Abduction is walking. Okay, there we go. He TP'd to the top side looking for the flank.
Oh, Zia, though, getting chunked out here very quickly. No chance.
But the flank!
That shot on the backside. Sad falls down. Both mid laners are gone. But guess who's on the other side? That is
Jisung
way far ahead and pushing the rest of the team away. Look at the auto attacks flying. No chance whatsoever. It's a 2 for 2 at the end of the day. Mid laners and junglers divided.
You know, earlier I said University of Waterloo didn't have a front line because everybody's kind of squishy. I gotta take that back, Orbital. Not because of anything the Warriors did, but I just watched Jisung frontline that with Hiccup in his back pocket. That is crazy! Jisung zoned everybody out there. Hey, range advantage against the Jhin. I guess Jhin had to reload shots, couldn't handle it. And yet another equal fight. 2 for 2. Did even Baron yet lives.
I don't know, RMC. This is getting a little bit out of control here. The lockdown on Jisung needs to come a lot faster, and I feel like for Alien Abduction, you're trying. Big props to this Mbessa, trying to fly on in, trying to catch it, and always seems to snap. To poor Sadfa, who is 6 deaths in the hole and is still doing the right things by a Syndra, right? You had the Rabadons, you had the Luden's Echo, you have the Shadow Flame, you're doing what you're supposed to. But it always feels like you're the brunt end of the forest, and you're just going, dude, I'm like secondary damage. Go for someone else. Like, let me live for once in a team fight.
Loki, I almost feel like Sadfush could just build tank at this point, like build defensive items. Because you're damage soaked. And to be fair, Sadfush pressing R is very, very helpful. Like, it's popping people, it's forcing Agrosin to use the ultimate to back off, and while he's backing off with the ultimate, he's not doing damage. So, like you said, they're all kind of doing their jobs right now. But yeah, honestly, for Sadfa, if you're just able to survive a bit longer, distract them a bit longer, it gives Jisung that much more space to just rip everybody apart. Because, yeah, the damage numbers for him through the roof. As for Alien Abduction, 5-1-2 now. When he was originally something like 1-0-1 or 1-1-1, he's been having massive impact in these team fights. He's been doing everything right, and that's what I need to see him continue doing. Right now, he's on the front end. That's not how he gets into the fight. He needs to look for some sort of flanking position, but without the teleport, it is tough.
And not just that, it's another dragon up to play for. And again, this is Infernal, one that you don't want to watch for. That's a triple knockup though. What a snipe into the backline. Beastiel gets one. And Mbessa tries to dance on in, but you've already lost your Orianna, which means you have no real damage. Icy has no extra, and Jisung in the Transcendent State says no bueno, no good. You can't play this game. Well done by Northeastern as Beastiel rocks their world.
I feel like we need to talk about Beastiel a little bit because he's been a little bit quiet this game. Overall, we haven't talked too much about him. He struggled in lane. That's fine. That's understandable, right? You're a Mel fight. Even into something like an AD, like Mbessa, you often don't have the agency. But that one fight, that might be what it takes to win this game out, because now they're at Soul Point, which they've been able to deny Soul, more importantly, to Waterloo. They're going to be able to turn around for this Baron, and Waterloo, they have to contest this. There's 5 seconds onto... Ziad's not even going to respawn before Baron melts.
This hurts, however, a little bit of a caught in. Jace with a quick 1400 smite at 900. That's an easy secure to finish. And, I mean, now you go clear bot side. You're really not that worried. Northeastern are getting everything in their bank, and they're going to play like so.
And for Waterloo right now, they need to be setting up vision. They need to find ways and angles for an abduction to look for a flank. Yes, Baron does give you a little bit of AD and AP, but you can still fight teams with Baron and come out ahead. And that's what Waterloo needs to look for. Okay, rather than vision, I wonder if they're looking to just set up a death bush onto Northeastern walking in. Unfortunately, Northeastern still has remaining vision, so they do see Ziad right there. Holy flash or flash. Fast fingers on Ziad.
Remember, never window shop. If you do, you can get into some trouble there. Well done to stay safe. However, you did lose your flash, which could be a huge way to fight things off. As you call it, flank angles available. They are going to look here. What a snipe. And you found Jisung. Is there any follow-up? Big snap number one. Shot number two. Shockwave isn't really going to land.
Shockwave only hits Bestial.
Which allows Jisung to heal and heal and heal, baby. Hiccup in the back pocket means the Yunara will live. And there ain't nothing that the Warriors can do about it. Game one looked rocky for Northeastern, but Jisung steps up and secures their game number one.
With a score of 21-23, Northeastern shows us it's not just about the kills. It's really about how you play the game, and they're able to walk away with the win. But huge props to this Northeastern team. Orbital, when I was looking at the draft, I wasn't completely sold by it, but watching them execute it, yeah, I see why they drafted what they did. I think the Malphite pick for Bestial was a huge key component for how this comp ended up playing out, which makes things doubly rough for Waterloo, because Waterloo said, draft is an important thing for them. And I feel like in that game, the draft ended up actually hurting them a little bit more than it helped. And going to game two, it's fearless draft. It can't be repeated. And I'm very curious to see how they adapt to this.
I mean, the adaptation as well in the early game. They got to find a way to shut down Jisung as quickly as possible. The early 2 kills did not help. The ensuing kills on Icy did not help. The ending kills that Bestial set up did not help. A lot of this will rely on Waterloo to step up. They had a good idea in the early stages. Now they got to execute a little bit cleaner, as you said. It is a BO3. They got one more chance to start their season off right. We'll see how they do as we go to a short break in the NECC. We'll be back in just a bit. Off we go for game number 2, and I mean, listen, we had some hiccups along the way, but so did Northeastern as they still come out with the victory. Jisung from minute 2 onwards was the star of the show, but everyone on Northeastern definitely stepped up.
You're talking about hiccups along the way, or no, we gotta talk about Hiccup, because she was what allowed Jisung to kind of be that MVP that the team needed. A lot of times, the those later fights, I was shocked with how Jisung was frontlining. Well, he's allowed to do that because of his pocket Lulu, because of the fact that Hiccup's there providing the shields, and it was always on point. That last engage, too, when we were talking about alien abduction, he found the flank angle, and then he goes in, and you just see Jisung's health bar not even move. Like, for a second, it looked like he didn't even take damage. It's not that he didn't take damage. It was that the shield timing was so perfect that the shield was there and then it wasn't. And Jisung's health bar just wasn't touched. So, huge props to this bot lane. And, Orbital, that's the bot lane I'm still looking at to see, can Icy and Pieces win out lane? They had counterpick. They chose not to do it in game 1. Maybe here in game 2. They did opt for red side. So, there's going to be some sort of counter coming through from Waterloo. Is it going to be their bot lane?
I really, really hope so. I mean, the Jhin was a little bit on the nose for us. We sat there going, there could have been other options in there, but they are choosing red side once more. So for the Warriors, they are saying these counter picks are very important to us, and we need to use them quite well. We will give credit, though. The Karma for Pieces was doing exceptional work, moving the rest of the team around the map, especially considering you had a Nefiri as that R1 pickup, trying to make it work as best as possible, and it did work at the time. 4, 1, and 3, I think by the end of it, it was a good pickup, but we need a bit more to come through for this composition, whether in the tank value, whether in just raw team fight ability. We are looking at the same bans, though, so far. Pyke, number 1. I'm expecting a Vladimir, as well as a Yone and Aurora, if they wish.
Yeah, so a lot of times in Fearless Draft, you'll see the bans kind of remain the same, unfortunately, because there's no reason to change it up. Whatever kind of broke you the last game is off the table anyways. So for Northeastern, their bans last game were Pyke, Zoe, Yasuo, and for the side of the Warriors, it was Vladimir, Yone, Aurora, and like you said, expect to see that the same. The big difference will be sort of what do you go for first pick this time, right? Northeastern got their hands on both Jace and Malphite last game. This time you don't have the Jace, and there isn't really another champion, I feel like, which does the same thing as Jace in the jungle right now. I'm trying to think if there's a good poke champion, like maybe a Nidalee, but the spears and shock blasts do very, very different things.
Yeah, they have very different reasons to be there, it feels like a lot of the time. So we'll see if it does happen, if we get some of that mix up, or if what we normally see, which is a drastic shift in identification, how they want to spearhead a lot of this fight. Now, we do have a ban of Illusion targeted at Jisung, another mechanical champion that a lot of people have utilized to kind of take over the bottom lane. So it's an identification that Jisung is it is the spotlight player. But instead, we are going to see a shift of an early Nami pickup taken for Hiccup here, another champion she's very proficient with.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because usually you see Lucian and then you see the Nami because Lucian can live without Nami. Nami pairs mostly with Lucian. Previously to this patch or this season, exclusively with Lucian. Now we see her often paired with Corki at the tier 1 level. So still very lane oppressive for the most part. And I don't know if IC necessarily plays the Corki though. So it looks like they're not going for that whatsoever. They're still prioritizing this top side of the map, blinding it. You've got Jax, Rumble. Those can be flexed around. Though Jax in the jungle, most likely. Rumble on the top side. I have seen Rumble jungle. It's a fast clear, but it feels really bad. So yeah, they just gave the Corki Nami over to Northeastern.
And I don't know if you like this because when you lock in the Rumble, you like champions that are generally not so mobile as with a Valkyrie, and you just let it go. You're like, hey, we know it's kind of coming. And I feel like this happened last time as well when you saw that Syndra, you knew the matchup was coming. And then you get the Gwen as well, another champion that can somewhat negate that equalizer, but not only that, a possible challenge to that Jax that we kind of just glossed over on that top side.
Yeah, and that could be Gwen jungle as well. She too can jungle pretty quickly. In fact, that's the matchup I'm more expecting to see. Gwen into Rumble in lane in the top side is kind of tough because Gwen is not immune when Rumble's sitting inside of your Hallowed Mist and just kind of flame spinning at you anyways, so that the matchup's not terribly favorable to her. Varus coming through. Varus, a champion that's very, very strong. Did get buffed last patch as well. Both his on-hit and his sort of poke builds lethality builds are very viable. Into the Corki Nami it's not like Varus is strong, but I feel like Corki Nami is one of the lanes that can actually match up to him, and I think the support matchup is going to be very, very important because the poke from Varus is good, but you no longer have Karma. We're seeing Nico taken away, so you don't have that sort of lane dominant aspect to it. And if you're just relying on the Varus for poke, Nami can sustain you through, and the all-in from Corki Nami is very strong as well.
We'll see if that's any different here. We are seeing the J4 also banned away. A slight identification that maybe my idea was right for once, saying that Gwen could go to the top side. It's mine. But it might not happen. We also see the LeBlanc targeted towards that mid lane. We were talking about the top side of the map. Instead, this time it's a double ban towards that mid lane. And a last pick here for possible the side of Waterloo. They are leaving mid for last. Do I like this? Personally, yeah. I'm a mid laner. I like this idea.
I actually like the idea a lot too because Ziad was the lane that really was taking over on his own. Like, yes, Alien Production was winning up top, credit to him as well, but Ziad was crushing the mid lane. Multiple solo kills as Orianna, absolutely huge. Okay, it does look like it's going to be Gwen top orbital since we do see the Wukong start to come through. So Northeastern, very squishy lineup. Right, you've got, okay, and there we go. There's a little bit of the tank they need. Swain to come through, but Swain blind is risky. Yes, Swain can kind of scale up, but he's vulnerable to assassins, which is why I guess we did see that LeBlanc come through. Zoe's taken off the table, but okay, I was wondering if we'd see like a Zed potentially from Ziad instead Talia. So he wants to be able to disengage the fight. They're looking more for a holistic team approach rather than have Ziad just kind of snowball his way to victory.
And I can actually agree with that one. As much as I would like to see an assassin, I'd like to see that aggressiveness. I do also get the idea of being able to access that bot side, which we talked about before. Jisung and Hiccup had such a high rotatable ability of just taking down the opponent. We saw multiple times where Icy just did not have that great time. Well, now you have that CC value. You have a Braum and a Varus. You want to make full use of that. If this Talia is specifically picked because they're trying to get Ziad a little bit more focused into that bot lane instead of just powering through the Swain, I'm actually okay with this. As an R5 though, I wanted more oomph. I really liked what Ziad did, and whenever I see someone pop off, I'm very hopeful of a much more greedy style. I like to see greed when it comes to mid laners. The Talia is just not it, man. Like, I wanted the Warriors to come out with some fire, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you a little bit. Just because usually, when you're saying for R5, you wanted a lane counter pick. You wanted something that would really be
Yeah.
able to bully out your opponent. And Talia, yeah, she's going to be able to still kind of bully out with range. She's going to be able to side swing shove to disengage the potentially the Wukong and the Swain as well and reset the fights a little bit, as well as kind of still fitting into that composition that University of Waterloo have drafted with really strong team fighting, with a lot of leeway to their team fighting as well, with multiple forms of AoE CC to set people up. It's a good pick for the comp. It just wasn't as exciting. And now, speaking about compositions, University of Waterloo, yeah, with the Rumble, with the Braum, Varus, Jax, that's three different forms of AoE CC that can really set up Rumble for success. Four, if you want to count Weaver's Wall, being able to cut teams off as well, that could be huge potentially. And yeah, for University of Waterloo, I think they've learned from game one. They said, game one, okay, we went a little bit too much. We said we were going to execute a very hard to execute composition, very high technical expertise required. This time we're going for straight, simple press R compositions and win team fight. Northeastern, on the other hand, they don't have a tank this time, Orbital, and that's critical. Last game, B-Steel's Mel fight, sure, it wasn't flashy. He didn't win lane, but how tanky he was and the ability to just brute force those fights with the engages was huge for the team. Now, you've got the ability to brute force with Wukong potentially, but not very tanky as a whole. Gwen does get immune. She'll be able to survive a lot of the damage that does come through in team fights. Swain can kind of just, with the big suck, survive these fights, but he's not a raw tank in that he doesn't have that much actual health. He has a lot of effective health. And with the healing cut from Varus and with the burst ability that can come through as well, Swain, that's what he's vulnerable to. If he just gets bursted out right off the bat, he doesn't get the sustained healing in those team fights. And once he goes down, that's the front line for Northeastern gone as well.
Yeah, a lot of people get upset at me for this. I think RMC, you do as well. But I love to call them pseudo tanks. They're champions that are not technical
That's fair,
tanks,
yeah.
but they have the ability to do so in ways that are not normal. Now, there is another part that I want to compound onto that because I want you to break this down for us. Various builds that we've seen have been on hit before. We've seen the speed builds, lethal tempo, and everything. There has been a new build that a lot of people have obviously been hyping up, but has been more in solo lane Varus more than anything. The Dusk and Dawn builds, I believe, have been really propping up. It's been a really easy proc on the on hits. We've seen this burst ability come through. Do you think we're going to see this come through here as well, especially with the Braum in the back pocket, or are we going to see more of a lethal tempo, or maybe of that lethality build out that we've seen Varus's build as well?
Well, with the Dusk and Dawn, it's good for kind of the trading patterns, like the solo trading patterns, in the solo lanes, especially when you're going to be getting that sort of on hit, and you can kind of bully out the shorter ranged champions or melee champions for the most part. I'm not expecting to see it as much in the bot lane necessarily, just because it's also ability power, which AP Varus is a build, don't get me wrong. But in this composition, you've already got enough AP damage to come through that it doesn't feel good to have even more magic damage being popped on or added on to the bot side. So I'm not expecting to see it come through for Varus this time. It really doesn't feel like what you need. I think you'd be better served if you wanted to pop a target with just kind of going lethality at that point, and then trust to have the magic damage. Because the other problem too is Talia is all AP. Rumble is like 90% AP. Yeah, he gets some auto attacks off when he's overheated, but that's not the main point of him. Jax is actually surprisingly quite magic damage heavy as well. Yeah. So because of that, you really do need physical, and Dusk and Dawn doesn't... It's not the best item to give you that.
I can get behind that one. I just wanted to pause it because I think it's funny. I hate running into a Dusk and Dawn Varus. I really dread solo queue if I ever see a mid Varus again. When we see some of the assassins being brought out some more for a lot of fun, I don't want to see that ever again. So I do agree though in the Jax point. It's so funny if you haven't seen it. If you randomly see a third item Zanya's, it's a staple on a Jax. Now you go in, you counter strike, you get the stun, and then you Zanya's and say, "Team, let's go," and nobody follows you. But on the flip side, for Northeastern, a team that obviously maybe had some shakeups, but individually very strong, this still feels like a comp that can be pulled off very, very easily for them. My question to you, though, do you expect Jisung and Hiccup to have the same level of success that they had in Game 1?
Gonna be honest, when I'm looking at the Korkinami into Varus Braum, it is kind of scary because Braum can actually just block Nami ultimate as well, and he's going to be willing to kind of throw his body up there. He can negate quite a bit of what Corki's trying to do in terms of trades as well. So if we're just looking at the champions, nameplates off, I still think Corki Nami is a very scary lane to deal with, but I don't necessarily think they have that huge an advantage. But once you turn the nameplates on, Orbital, it's a whole different game. Because look, if I was the Warriors Gold right now, I would be having PTSD from how this bot lane played out. Hiccup kept surviving in a lot of these trades, and going into this one as well, I just gotta favor what Jisung and Hiccup were able to do in lane last game.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking to do more of the same. Remember how quickly they tried to punch out someone else, but you're talking about nameplates off. Not only do we have Agrosin set to go as well as CX on the other side, but another nameplate off moment is the top side. Angrod has actually stepped in the situation of the 6-man rotation value, where we were notified that it was alien abduction in game number 1, so Angrod stepping in on the Rumble here.
Yeah, and perhaps there's a difference between, physical damage, magic damage, or, team fight oriented versus more sort of split push pressure to come through. But hey, I like the idea of that 6-man rotation. Now let's remember what Alien Abduction achieved against Bestial last game. He won out in lane, not hugely in terms of CS, and he applied a ton of side lane pressure, shoved in Bestial for most of the laning phase. So we'll call it a win. Now Angrod, the 4th, coming in with the Rumble against Bestial, also on a very different style of champion, not a tank this time, more of a carry. There's pressure for Angrod to perform, because if he doesn't win out the lane, then was it worth necessarily swapping out? If he doesn't execute in the team fights, was it worth swapping out?
A lot of questions to be answered here, but either way, we are excited for this Waterloo squad, a team that, again, we mentioned, stepping up from Div 2. They stated their main goal is just improving, learning to improve here in Div 1, get your feet steady, and working out kind of some of those mechanical differences of how do we want to make this 6-man roster work. So if we just see improvements from Game 1 as well, I think I'll be very happy to see how far this Waterloo squad can go in the rest of the season, see how far they can go here in Div 1 as well. So far, though, for Angrod, it is a tougher spot. I think he started with the Harpoons, didn't go with the Flame Sitter, so the wave just hard crashes under tower. Feels bad.
Yeah, and Gwen traditionally has been strong in her first couple of levels as well, especially level 1, where it's very, very difficult to just trade into her just walking up to you with W as well. So not super surprised to see Angrod get shoved in. The bigger question is just his CS numbers and whether or not he can last under turret and then bounce back out. So for now, I think Angrod is doing just fine. All the lanes are kind of doing just fine. Mid lane, this is a bit of a change up because Sadfa is trading quite well with Ziad right now. Ziad did win out that trade, but the fact that last game, if you recall, it was just Sadfa repeatedly being one-sidedly beat up where he could not find any sort of answer.
Well, top side might have a different answer as well. Flash in to ensure no flash. Well timed, well planned aggro for first blood.
And that was close. If Agrosin goes down, that gank is very much not worth it because Bestial actually ends up being ahead for all that happened. So Agrosin barely able to limp away. Gonna be happy with him, and actually not recalling, but bot side, Pieces and Icicle.
Oh, so close. Last auto was there. Oh, Jisung making some magic happen on the bot side. That was a very nice double bubble by Hiccup as well to set up that entire kill.
Yeah, and this is why I have PTSD from last game. Or why I said if you're Waterloo Warriors Gold right now, that bot side, it's terrifying. Corki Nami, the amount of burst damage all in when they commit to it, the amount of damage they can do is disgusting. And for IC and Pieces as well, you think back to last game, how many times did they almost kill Hiccup? And then this time, how many times are you almost going to kill either Hiccup or Jisung, right? It was really, really close, but it wasn't enough. And it just feels like Hiccup and Jisung, they know the limits of how much they can commit. I want to highlight too, Hiccup still has heal. She didn't use that. So they weren't even really that close to going down. The numbers, the appearance of it lies.
I also give credit. I think Jisung had almost a Captain Jack cleanse to make sure that the concussive blows didn't stun you up, allowing for that last auto attack. I'd have to go back and double check that. But, you know, that is something to also keep eyes on. Cleanse instead of barrier is a very big difference maker in their Bestial on the top side, though. Not recognizing that there was an exhaust. I was going to point that out before. As Jisung gets a kill on the bot side, we aren't going to watch that, though, as Angrod is just cooking on the bot side. But it's so lackluster. That was a double. 2 on the bot side. What happened?
Well, we don't need to see the bot side, Orbital. We saw what happened, and I'm pretty sure it's close to a repeat. Probably Hiccup landed bubble or double, either bubble onto IC or double bubble, and they just committed to the all-in. And they're doing this on tier and double longsword. So when Jisung completes that sheen, it's gonna get that much worse. Or the mirror man, pardon me. Sadfa?
Uh-oh. Aggro Sin tries to jump on in, but it ain't gonna work. Instead, CX gives a massive answer to Ziad. Ziad forced out of lane, and now it's a jump back because Aggro Sin has no extra help. Hiccup gets a bounce with the ebb and flow and flows their way to their second kill.
Okay, did Hiccup need to be there? No.
Absolutely. You know what? Support lives matter in there. Support lives matter. 203, 100% give it to Hiccup.
Hey, support lives matter. That's not what's in dispute. Whether or not Hiccup should be stealing kills is the question here. Zappa gonna be a little bit sad that he didn't pick up the kill because he does want to accelerate that. But for Waterloo, this is dire right now. The topside gank went great. Angrod finding the solo kill even more so, especially for top laners with the quest changes. If you opt for the combat summoner, which I actually like a lot, you do want to win lane, and he's able to do that. But this bot side is bleeding, and now mid lane bleeding is also an issue.
And they're trying to kind of stifle that bleeding, put a band-aid on it with those summoner spells. I don't disagree with this one, but Icy still goes down. Yeah. So it's a 1-for-1 at the end. Hiccup will fall here, but does that flash? Are you able to get under the tower? Yes, you are!
Oh, no
Hiccup,
shot!
You are illegal work right now. This girl is kicking some absolute butt. And Ziad is coming off on the side. There is no help here. And you're gonna run away. You still have flash though. You quickly skedaddle back under tower, but you've already done work. Hiccup, pat yourself on the back. No way you survive. The minion block. Hiccup with the lead. Are you kidding me? And she draws the rest of the team down as well. Agrostin is now in a really bad spot. Sadfa is here as well. There's no TP from the top side. But I cannot believe it. RNC Hiccup survived.
That is so disgusting. The BM from Hiccup too. Like, she was spamming the dots in front of the last game. Hiccup, you've overdone it. Ziad's just waiting right on the side. But unfortunately for Ziad, Hiccup was able to dodge away from everything, holding the flash as well to bait as much as possible. And what they're trying to do is also slow things down so that Sadfa could arrive at the bot lane. Sadfa was waiting for the Demonic Ascension to actually come back off cooldown. And if that was up, that bot side would have been an utter absolute wipe, going from bad to worse. And when all is said and done, for the amount of time committed from Waterloo Warriors, the fact that Agrosin went down there while CXZAE was just power farming away on the top side, they walk away with a 1-for-1. And yeah, Icy that doesn't get anything because Icy actually went down from trade, so it's just 80 carry for 80 carry.
And right now, it's almost looking like a punch on either side of the map as Sadfa gets a solo kill in the mid lane. Aggro gonna try and get some revenge. Flash for flash to follow, but the Demonic Ascension is actually giving a lot of HP. Oh, gets the grapple at the end to allow CX to follow through. And you called it before, a disaster is occurring for the Waterloo Warriors as they are getting picked clean from mid to jungle to bot.
Did we call this a 3-for-1 all across the map? Is it a 4?
Oh my god, no.
It's a 5?
It's an unofficial ace from Northeastern here in 8.5 minutes.
Okay, and I want to know what happened in top side because we saw what happened mid. Bot was pseudo expected, but Bestial turning the tides around, and we saw CXZAE going for the gank. We saw Angrod just kind of walk away, like he was not concerned whatsoever, and then somehow turned around. And Bestial finds the kill. That is things just going from bad to worst for Waterloo right now. Which lane are you winning? Agrosin looking for the kill.
Very nice dash away. B still flashing to safety. Rest of the team is here. At least one. CX is around. Very nice eye. The eye from Swain is brutal, and the slow is more than enough. I don't know if you want to keep chasing this one, honestly. They're all out here. Aggro just kind of pissed off about the current circumstances are going down, and now you're caught in no man's land. You're drawing pieces in, and Sadfa wants to make some magic happen. Is it going to?
I mean, you want to. If you're the side of the Waterloo Warriors, you want to keep on chasing. You really want that kill on Bestial, but you can't anymore. Like you said, the Vision of Empire coming through from Sadfa was giga huge, and it feels like Sadfa's role this game is just slow things down, stall things out every time the Swain shows up, right? Like Sadfa's died once. Didn't quite secure the kill bot side, but he's done his job, which is to support the rest of his team. When you've got a Gwen in the top lane, when you've got Jisung and Hiccup in the bot lane, forget what champions are on. You don't need to be the star. You're a supporting cast, and he knows that's his job.
It really does feel like this is a warm welcome from Northeastern here into Division 1. Sadfa getting the cook's end of the deal. And that is a burn and a half here. The final shot will come. Agrod wins it out. Bot side tower will go down. But the chase is on as that's flash forward. Flash for flash. And the final blow will come. The phosphorus bomb comes out. And Jisung is on a killing spree. Someone call 911 because it's flipped 6-1-1 right now.
You know what? 3 more kills before we start calling 911, Orbital.
Yeah, it's getting there. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, just looking across, look at all the CS numbers. And the reason why things were kind of going from bad to worse when Bsteel found that solo kill was because now Waterloo doesn't have a single winning lane. Okay, fine, top side they're still up a little bit in gold. Yep. But in the mid lane, down 600 as Talia, R5 by the way, remember this was sort of the counter pick that they opted for, and Waterloo chose red side. They wanted this counter pick, and this Talia is not working out. Bot side is a chasm.
Might continue to occur. However, now they are punished in the mid lane. Really, really well done by the rest. Concussive blows will land on the backside of the head. Agrosin having to step away, though, and it is a chore and a half to get these last few kills. Another auto attack will actually give you enough HP to step back in the fight. And guess what? CXZAE is here. What a blow to the back of the head. Final shot, though. Can another tower take it? Out goes the eye. It slows them all down. He gets a burn. Sad with the crow will finish it off, and at the end, it's a 2 for 2. No, it's a 2 for 3.
Summon Airy, man. I can't believe it. Summon Airy actually finding the kill. But hey, critically, it is worth noting Ziad did find the kill onto Jisung. So no 911. It's 6-2-3 right now, and the bounty was huge. Have they found Sadfa?
This is anger. This is aggression. This is just, I want to fight and get the kill. Another catch on the back end. Nice double bubble again to try and slow down damage, but you didn't get Icy. Icy with another check, though. What about that heal? Hiccup. Hiccup is the emergency ambulance that everyone wishes they could have.
No, Varus has healing cut in his kit, but it doesn't matter. Even if he's stopping Demonic Ascension from healing, yeah, like you said, Hiccup, that's the EMT, that's the ambulance, that's the help that you need to keep you alive. Second Drake does go the way of Waterloo Warriors, but they are out of position right now. Jisung and Hiccup couldn't be able to push into this mid lane. They've got the inside track, and they are raining hell poke from range.
That is brutal, by the way. A single empowered missile hits and lands Icy in pieces. And I feel like Hiccup is definitely utilizing the fact that obviously Abrahm wants to stay on top of Icy, so you can get easy double bubbles everywhere you go. They're going to use this time and space to just press on through. 3 grubs were taken at some point, and CX was like, that's just a little bit of a drop in a bucket. Doesn't really matter to us. They take that. They clear the mid-tower. Equalizer goes down, and it's the Weaver's Wall. A V to try and cut everyone off, but the X is not made. So it's freedom to get away, and everyone on the side of Northeastern is still chilling. Now aggro is going to get in there. The Cyclone will stop you in your tracks. It's a kill nearly for free, and they'll continue to push on the top side of the map. Bsteel steals a tower. CX is looking for some more, and Northeastern are looking to put the final touches at the end of this game. Thankfully, Icy gets one at the very end, but is forced to pop the barrier.
Sickest part is that missile didn't even touch Icy. So Icy is popping the barrier preemptively. That's that PTSD we were talking about. They're in his head right now. It's a mental game. Exhaust onto Bsteel, but defensively, as Bsteel able to just kind of walk it off for now. Angrod still looking for more, but keep in mind, Angrod already used the equalizer earlier. He doesn't have ult available.
Another glacial fissure to be used. Sadfa able to pop the demonic early, though. That's enough. It's only a level 1, but it's doing work. You take 3 tower shots and survive yet again. Everyone, listen. If you got a Hiccup on your side, you do not have to fear death. Hiccup has got you. Defying. That is the angel raining down on the battlefield here.
Holy, that is rough. Pieces, just literally in pieces. Caught out. That's not your jungle anymore. When Waterloo lost the inner turret in the mid lane, they just lost all control of the map. And Orbital, I respect that they tried to make the play on that mid lane, but it was a little bit too rushed, and the price they're paying is high. Losing a 1v1 against a support right now.
No!
Shot the minions!
The minions pick up! Someone call 911, baby! You are 4-1-9!
That was solo!
Show's over. Game's over. I don't care what happens. Hiccup has won this game.
Oh my goodness. Beastie was just living his best life in this top lane right now. 1-2-0. Does not care about what's happening elsewhere on the map because Jisung and Hiccup are just doing unspeakable, horrible things, just ripping them apart. My goodness. How do you come back from this, Orbital, if you're the Waterloo Warriors? Right? Again, the mid play was supposed to be their big chance to get back in, but it was such a high-risk play for medium rewards. And you got to do it when you're falling behind. But it's now put them into an even deeper hole. 7,500 gold down. That's a gold difference we're used to seeing after Barons are taken. Baron hasn't spawned yet and won't for another 4 minutes. Heck, we're still just doing Herald at this point. Or no, Northeastern is leading without even taking Herald. Now they can really lead and crush.
Yep, they are chilling as this feels like a walk in the park. If the park was made up of like John Wick goons and Hiccup and Jisung are like in John Wick 3 at this point. I don't know. Like, this feels brutal. Hiccup is wandering into enemy territory. Normally I'd be worried about this as a support. You're level 9. I'm pretty sure Hiccup can survive anything at this point.
Well, it's fine that Hiccup's level 9 because look at Icy. Icy's level 9. The solo laners for Waterloo, level 11 and level 12. They're not that much better. Herald being charged into that top side. They're just going to push this in. Can they even get a second charge out of Shelly?
No, I don't think so. That
Not
is going to
quite.
be popped. It is at least some stalling by Waterloo Warriors, and as you can see here, they are trying their best as they have found Sanfa. Sanfa is alone here. This time in a 1v5, it looks like the ambulance can't get there in time, but at least some revenge can come into play. Quick auto attacks are coming out here. Jisung just cuts up into
Not okay.
But you're still safe. You're still safe because Hiccup's there. I don't know what I was worried about. RMC, why didn't you tell me? There's no worry. Whenever the Nami is there, the waters that heal are around. And at this point, it's a spring of everlasting life.
Yeah, that's the spring of eternal youth, I guess. To be fair, Hiccup didn't get there in time to save Sadfa, but the fact that Jisung didn't go down, I'm tilting overall. I'm tilting watching this bot lane from Northeastern.
It's about to get worse. It's about to get worse, RMC. An Ocean Soul to play for. Like, you thought non-healing, you thought an Oblivion Orb was going to save you? No, not even close. If for some reason this game goes to, 30 minutes, there is going to be no stopping Northeastern's healing, whether Hiccup is there or not. Hiccup will basically have brought the hospital to Northeastern's side of the field.
Oh, overall, that's a very glass half empty sort of view. And with the amount of water we're seeing, I want to see it glass half full, which is for Waterloo, their healing cut is going to get a lot of efficient use. It's going to cut a lot of things, so very gold efficient.
We just need a few more. Yeah, like, dude, Hiccup has gotten away with so much. We have to give credit where credit is due. It feels like Hiccup has become this enigma that we are landing on. Do not get us wrong, but the rest of Northwood have taken that advantage to the extremes, right? They have built up so much gold. Yes, there's a tower going down, but look at the spot side. Northeastern have the confidence, the ego to play however they wish because they know they have this lead, they know they have this value, they know they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, fair enough. When you're that far ahead, again, 8,000 gold lead, the gold lead keeps snowballing. I think Northeastern right now, they're just waiting for Baron to spawn for the final push. They've taken all the inner turrets as well. They're knocking on the doors of the inhibitor turrets. And that's where it gets a little bit dicey, is the inhibitor turrets. Because we talked about Waterloo's composition. And for Angrod, Agrison, they've continued farming up while all this was happening. Angrod fighting the turret top side. Again, plates last forever for the entire game now, so there was extra gold there. The composition for Waterloo is still a strong AoE comp, and I've seen comps down, AoE comps down 8,000 gold, still win a single fight if they find critical members. Yeah, that's not how you find a critical member. Angrod dying, okay, that's a little bit rough. It's fine. They're not contesting Baron. They're contesting at their inhibitor turrets. They must not lose an inhibitor turret, though, before Baron goes down.
Yeah, it's looking rougher and rougher here. Again, another double bubble coming out of Hiccup. This has been... By the way, Hiccup has landed more double bubbles in this game than I've ever landed in my own life. Like, I used to main Nami, by the way, when I was support. I've never landed this many double bubbles. This is wild to watch. This is also Jisung playing with absolute abandon, chunking out this tower. Not IE, Trinity Force, plus the I don't even know. The fully upgraded mana item. I don't
Mirror
care
mana,
because
yep.
he's so dang strong. He's looking for an executioner as well on the back end. This is out of control. On the bot side, aggro is trying to do something, but is on top of a ward, which has allowed
dear.
CX to come around the side and force them off, force them right back into enemy into their own base.
Oh, this mid lane turret's almost dead. If that falls
Yeah.
before Baron, Waterloo have zero way of contesting whatsoever. And if they can crack it without Baron, imagine what they can do with Baron. Beasteel in there, just chipping away. I want to highlight too, for a moment there, Northeastern was doing a 1-3-1. They've consolidated into a 4-1, but it's still good. They found Sadfa. That's not the target you want.
Well, it's the only one you'll get at this point. Hiccup, the ambulance, was forced away from the territory. But
Yeah.
team come on in, huge cyclone in the back line.
Okay.
Fall, but Jisung and Hiccup are still alive, and that was a 4v5. I believe that was a 4v5, and he still came away in a position to push this inhibitor. Northeastern, they said screw the deaths, it's okay. It's not Jisung and Hiccup. We can still take the inhibitor.
Yeah, that's a wall diff at work right now. Normally this would be giving me a heart attack from Jisung, but he's fine. Beasteel, not so fine.
Uh-oh. And actually, this might be a little bit critical. Now it's split. Hiccup going one way, and that's Jisung going another. You do not have flash. You only have
Okay,
flash.
he
You're gonna
baited
use
Jisung.
it, and you're going to turn around to get one at least. So, Waterloo are able to punish. I give a lot of credit there. They needed some sort of gold. It's a drop in a very large bucket that they have to fill, but at least they have something to grasp onto.
Again, with the water metaphors, Orbital, we got to give credit to the sheer
don't-
amount
I
of
don't
water
know,
in this
man.
game. It might be your first drop, but there's enough water here to fill plenty of cups, and I'm looking at Waterloo's in it. That's a really good pick-off they needed to. Northeastern, I think, overstayed their welcome a little bit. When Sadbug
Yes.
went down, they needed to reconsolidate on that mid lane, take the inhibitor, and get out. They do take the inhibitor, but Beasteel was greeting on the bot side, ends up going down. Now, it does give Waterloo a bit of gold, a bit of time to kind of reset a little bit, and most importantly, it lets them push out the waves so that they can actually now look at Baron and think about, can we steal this away? Now, the steal itself is very dangerous. Normally, you send your jungler in, you flip a coin, and you pray it works. If it doesn't work, well, we just lost one person for the opportunity. But when their base is already in shambles, if Agrosin goes in, even if he steals Baron, if he dies, the resulting 5v4 could still cost them the game. So Waterloo, they're looking for more than just a steal. They're looking for kills.
And the kills might come inside of the Baron pit. Baron down to about 7.5. And
That's looking kinda
CX destroyed in the HP value. Jisung off on the wings though, able to temper some damage back. Might actually work them out of that field. Baron was stopped though, which is a big play that Waterloo we're looking at. Because Dragon is currently up as well right now, that's where they're kind of headed. But someone has to head back and take care of that
Yeah.
base. Look at that flood of super minions. And now it's a play. Agrosin looking, drops another ward.
Waterloo, they're distracted. They're still thinking about this dragon. I think they committed too much to the first push off, and they don't feel like they've got enough in the tank for the second one. So Agrosin, can he find the steal? He's in.
Very, very close though. That kill by Jisung secures the Baron for them. Dragon will head the way of Waterloo, but that was dicey. That was spicy. But Waterloo still get one of the two objectives.
Yeah, now we talked about the fact that, hey, if you send Agrosin alone and he dies, even if he gets the Baron, things get potentially a little bit rough. He's dead and didn't get the Baron. Northeastern not in a position to really push in, though, unfortunately. They did opt to reset, spend the gold a little bit more, but they will be looking to break this game wide open. And like we said before, they took an inhibitor orbital without Baron. Imagine what they can do with the Royal Purple.
Time to push down this last tower, massive chunk. Thanks to those Crystal Light moments. Clone deleted, but it's enough to kind of push through. It's a 5-man instead of a 1-4. I don't disagree with it. We'll look to do a little bit more damage. Last auto will take it through. A massive missile to the back of the head. Shreds out Ziad and Icy. Inhibitor next to follow as Beasteel steps up to help. Chains of Corruption goes wide. That was a big go signal. Unfortunately, it peters out. You didn't have enough gas in the tank. Slow roll, though, by Northeastern as they make their way down to the bot side, which is perfectly prepped to crash in time to take the third inhibitor, if they can.
Yeah, no rush for them. Once they've already kind of got them corralled. Aggerson walking up into the wave?
I mean, this is, that was a chance and a half. It was that Zanya's to be used, but the Cyclone does enough damage. Two-sided fight, though, as Northeastern put the final candles on this birthday cake. They said, look, we are still here in Div 1, and we ain't going down in Week 1. It is an ace to finish it off. And that is a 2-0 series for Northeastern University. They start the 2026 season off with a win.
And a dominant defense from Northeastern University for the pride of Division 1. A team that has had their struggles, but Orbital, my goodness, when they click, boy, do they look good. And this game, it wasn't just all about Jisung and Hiccup. Yes, a lot of it was about them. But we got to see some fantastic things from the rest of the team as well. CXZA, I think, finding much better engages, almost making me question why even put this guy on Jace, right? Like his Wukong engages on point. Cyclone's very, very disruptive. Sadfa just holding mid, considering that he got counterpicked by Ziad. He basically nullified the entirety of what Waterloo wanted to do repeatedly that game, and Bestial on the Gwen. He didn't get too much time in the limelight because he was playing more PvE and just turret destruction as a Gwen, which is okay. But when he did show up, he was able to, I think, have a great time against Angrod. He won multiple 1v1s against Angrod, which, if anything, I think raises a lot of questions about how this sort of six-man roster is going to work out for Warriors.
Yep, I loved every single moment of it, and I am really, really happy to see the work being put in by the side of Northeastern. At the same time, as you said, for the Waterloo Warriors, they have options, and I mentioned it before, I did want to see increases. It's hard to take away a lot from a game like that one, but you knew you faced off against a squad, and watching Hiccup, I mean, there are points where you just sit there and go, dude, someone popped off. Like, there are moments where you just kind of, you give it to the opponent, you say, really, really good game, and really, really well played. So I love what we've seen so far, and hopefully we get to see both squads moving on in the future for maybe the playoffs down the road. With that being said, though, we are done for the evening. RMC, it was fantastic, and I'm glad that I got to open up with this fantastic series with you as well. Shout out to our production on the side, Adam and Chippy, as well as Christina on the socials. We always want to give a big shout out to our socials manager. Again, stay tuned to more NECC tomorrow, though. Same time, same place. However, different game. It will be Overwatch 2. Shout out to all of our lovely people that make this work in your top right, and we'll see you all tomorrow.